Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, good afternoon. It's Friday afternoon. The sun is shining through here, which is why it's probably half dark. I've got the blind down. The sun is shining in London. It's a beautiful day. Today we're going to talk about, is it buying advice of a 911? I don't know whether it's buying advice. We're going to talk about why the base Carrera is probably the best buying proposition. Is it the classic Carrera of days gone by? Is it the purest 911? Are Porsche telling us that by introducing the 911T, that base is better? Maybe they are. Anyway, let's talk about it now. You know, when you're buying a 911, what is better? Is it better to get every option that's available? Is it better to spec out the base Carrera to the point where it becomes more like an S, more like a GTS? Or is it actually better just to buy a base Carrera? Just get minimal options, you know, maybe short shifter, maybe, you know, just the base options that come with the car, and don't spec it out too much and just keep it in its purest form. Now you've got to think, you know, when Porsche have just recently brought out the Carrera 911T. The Carrera 911T is kind of like that. It can come without rear seats. Sure, they give it lightweight glass. Sure, they give it some of the things from the GT2 RS or the GT3 RS to lighten the load. But, you know, and it's got the standard engine. But is that more of a purist 911? Is it better than getting a GT3? Is it really better just to get a 911 Carrera T, or even so, just a base Carrera? Now, obviously, I'm a little bit biased because my Carrera is pretty much base. But even looking back at the 997, you know, the 997, you could have got the 4S, you could have got the turbo. But a base Carrera, in its purest form, is it more like, say, you know, a 911 SC? Is it more like an air-cooled, you know, is it more like an air-cooled 911 than a modern 911? So buying a modern 911, is it better to get it in its base form? You know, and the other thing you have to consider is adding options. Do they really add any more to the performance? I mean, adding things to the 997 Carrera in the day, did they actually add anything to the performance? I don't know if they do. I mean, you know, you can get rear wheel steering, or you can get ceramic brakes, or you can get, you know, I mean, do you really need it? This is the thing. Do you really need these options? I mean, if you drive a 1980s Carrera, obviously it feels completely different to a modern 911. But, you know, what's the closest you can get in a modern 911? And, you know, sure, modern 911s are more, you know, their technology is much more improved, or they have technology, you know, everything has been improved. But to give you that character, that purest character of a 911, is it really better just to order a bog standard base Carrera 911? Just forget about all the modern options. Just keep it very simple. Keep it as simple as you can, and just enjoy the power to weight ratio. Enjoy the balance of the car. Enjoy the rear engine. You know, enjoy it for what it is, and don't overspec it to the point where it doesn't really affect anything. It doesn't improve the character of the car. In fact, it could take away from the character of the car. I mean, maybe sometimes we're too easy in ticking the options list, in ticking the options that we don't really need. The GT3 is a great car, and my friend's GT3 is a fantastic car. It's got a great sound, it's beautiful inside, it's got the racing seats, it's perfect, you know, but the ground clearance at the front is really, really bad, and you need a lift kit. You need a lift kit in the GT3, but you know, that compromise with ground clearance, you get a base Carrera, you're not going to have that problem. Yeah, you can get PASM fitted, and you can get the suspension dropped by 20 mils on a standard Carrera, but you know, if you just keep it without the PASM, don't select the PASM, just have it without, like a 997 without PASM. Mine doesn't have PASM. My car has been lowered, so it, you know, and it suffers from that ground clearance, I have to say, coming out of driveways. I don't think the drive performance suffers. You know, the thing about my 911 is that, you know, it feels great on the twisty roads. It feels fantastic. And sure, there's limitations. I mean, you know, when I'm following a GT3, of course, you can see the GT3 has just that little bit more on the road, a little bit more grip. But you know, there's still character in the base car. There's still character in feeling the limits of the car, in feeling that the car is a 911. It's not overly complicated. It's not a base Carrera is not overly complicated. It's not full of too much electronic gadgetry. It's just a simple driving machine, which is a really, really good feeling when you get behind the wheel. The car, the 911, the 997 911, my base one without the PASM, it does have a lightish, the front end is a bit light at times. You can feel it, but the car is communicating with you. It's giving you that feedback that you want. And I mean, this is what they criticized the 991 about, if I remember, is the steering feel. But the 997 still has that steering feel. It still feels light at the front end. It still has its limitations. In some ways, it feels like it could almost feel like an air-cooled 911 from 1980 or 1970. You know what I mean? So, there's nothing wrong with a few flaws here and there. Those flaws are what give the car its character. It's what puts a smile on our face every time we drive our car. You don't notice it around the city or around your local streets, but when you get out on those twisty roads, you really realize what sort of car you have, and you realize the amount of engineering and everything that's gone into a Porsche. And I still think that even in a base form, that engineering is still there. You're getting a complete package, I've heard that the 991 Carrera base is very good. I know people like Nick Murray always say that the 991 base is the best one, even though he bought a 4S. I would not buy the four-wheel drive 911. I know you guys have it in areas where you have bad weather, but I like the two-wheel drive. I love the two-wheel drive and the rear-wheel drive. And I think that, a base Carrera really does have character. I'm not putting down all the other models. I'm just saying, as a pure buying standpoint, if you're looking at getting into a 911, don't even look for the S. Just look for if there's a base Carrera there at a good price with no options, don't be hesitant to not buy the car because it doesn't have Chronopack, that it doesn't have, leather dash. In the end, it doesn't really matter. I mean, of course, when you buy a base Carrera, it has the narrow body. It's not a wide body. It doesn't have that stance of a 4S or a GTS. The 997 GTS had the wider haunches. The 4S had the wider haunches. It doesn't have that stance of a wider car. It's a narrow body car, but there's something nice about that. There is something nice about that, and it still follows Porsche's history and Porsche's DNA. In fact, in some ways, I actually like it better. I like it better. I like how it's a smaller type car. Especially with the 997, it doesn't look as big. I mean, obviously that's changed with the 991 because the whole model range became bigger. But there's something nice about the narrow body. I mean, yeah, it doesn't have the aggressive stance, but there is a purity there. There's a purity in the form of the car. A form of the car and what it's meant to do. I mean, it's a driver's car. A base Carrera is still a driver's car as much as a GT3 is a driver's car. Sure, you have less power, but the whole engineering behind it, the whole feel of the car is still there. So maybe the DNA of the original 911 is still available. It's still, not still available. What am I saying? The purity of the 911 that was here from the 60s, it's still in the 911. Yeah, it's become, electronics and options and painter samples and all these things have become over almost a little bit too, you know what I mean? They've become too prevalent. They've become too important. And let's just remember what the car is about. The car is a driving car. We're speccing these cars out to in some ways take away from that purity. It's a driver's car and that's what it should be. And in a base Carrera, you get a great driver's car. Whether it's a 997, whether it's a 996, whether it's a 993. I can only talk about 997 because that's what I have. But, even in 991, I mean, I love, I didn't really like it at first, and you know that. I thought it was just a marketing thing from Porsche. But after seeing people like TGE TV and seeing their Carrera T and seeing them walk around and seeing the car, I really like it. I really understand it. And, I think it's a really good proposition. And I think, a lot of us have that now. We have a standard 997. We have a standard 996 and we don't have many options. And we're thinking, gee, we need to upgrade. Maybe you don't need to upgrade. You've got the character that you want in your car. The character is there. Yeah, you can do mods and you can mod the car, a little bit here and there. But you have the purity of the 911. You have the Porsche DNA, even in its basest form. It is strong, and it is it is a great car in bog standard form. I mean, those of you who have seen my other videos know that I changed the wheels that came with my car. My car had aftermarket 20-inch wheels. I changed them back to OEM wheels. Yeah, I customized them slightly and they've got a satin platinum finish, but they're a standard OEM 19-inch Carrera S wheel, you know, and I wanted that. And you know, when it comes to things like PCM, yeah, the PCM, the control unit in the car is outdated. It's got a SIMS card slot that doesn't work anymore because the SIMs aren't 2G. You know, it's got problems like that. But you know, I don't want to take it out because I want to keep the car original. I want to keep that purity of the car that is there. I want it to be an original looking 911. To me, that's important. The driving experience is important. And the more and more I think about it, when I'm looking at trying to upgrade and trying to, you know, spend a lot more money on a 911, I think, have I really got it all now? Have I really got what a 911 is all about? Do I need a GT3? Do I need a GT3 RS? Do I need, you know, a car with 1,001 options? You know, I don't know if I do. I mean, I say that now, but I don't know if I do. Because really, the 911 you have is probably the best 911. Okay, that's it for today. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Like I always say at the end of the videos, I'm Michael Barth. I don't always say that, but I'm going to start saying it so you remember who I am. Please subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. It really helps my channel grow. And if you like this video, every like makes a difference. Every like makes a difference, and it makes YouTube like me more, and it makes other people find my videos that may not have found it. If you want to know when my next video is coming up, you just turn on the notifications, which is somewhere up here, and that's how it works. But thanks for watching, thanks for all the support, and till next time, bye for now.